To our meeting. Sorry, are we ready? Yes. So welcome back to our meeting. It is now 8:23. Wednesday, June 9. Going back to item F, announcements of actions taken in closed session. There were no actions taken in closed session. At this point, I will ask the board if they will entertain the idea of jumping to I3 and having the IID representatives give their presentation.
Yes.
Yes.
I'm in agreement with that.
Ms. Magallanes?
Yes.
Mr. Romero?
No.
So 4-1, we get it, we take it. IID supervisor, thank you, go ahead.
Thank you. My name is Mike Pacheco, and I'm the water manager for the IID, and I kind of wanted to give you a status report on a couple of projects that are here in the city of Calexico. The first one is the beach canal relocation. So I have a couple of slides that I wanted to show you. I think you guys are familiar with the beach canal. It's a canal that we serve for farmland. It's just comes off of Balco Road, just north of here.
Where exactly, just so the public knows, where exactly are you talking about?
Okay.
Oh, right there.
So yeah, so the green line is where the existing beach canal is right now. It starts there at Balco Road, travels west, goes through the all the businesses and development that's going on, goes under Highway 111, and then it comes out there on Cloak Road, and that's where we start serving the ag fields with the water. So what we wanted to do and propose and working on it is that we want to relocate this. We want to get away from all the development that's going on, all the businesses, in that area, and move it over to the All-American, which is the red line that you see on the map. And so we want to do a pipeline, not an open canal. That's our suggestion. And so I kind of wanted to show you that that's where we're working at. I have, or Mr. Ortega, Antonio Ortega with our government affairs will speak a little bit after me as far as the funding opportunities that we are pursuing to pay for this relocation. I think if you go to the next slide, I think it gives you an idea of why we want to get away. First of all, the development. There's no more ag going on in this area. And we were always very leery about if it ever gets plugged in, with the pipeline that goes under 111 and with all the businesses and shopping carts and stuff, that we were afraid that if it ever plugs up, we were going to have a lot of issues with closing businesses and trying to get that pipeline unplugged. So that's another reason. But the main one is the safety. You have a lot of residents in that area. And during the hot summer months, it's very inviting to go in to go swimming, and so we want to avoid that. And so that's really where I know, I want to respect your time. I know it's late, and so I just kind of wanted to give you an update on that. I'll let Antonio speak about the funding opportunities that we're pursuing. There's another project real quick along Cloak Road, which is the bridge that goes on the All-American that is not fenced. And we've had some incidents where people were pretty close on falling into the canal, sitting down on the rails and just leaning over. So we're going to fence that. That's on Cloak Road in the All-American that we're going to also, I'm working with the county to get that done as soon as possible also. So if you don't have any questions for me, I'll pass it over to Mr. Ortega, and he can kind of talk about the funding.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, board members. Antonio Ortega, Government Affairs. So just very briefly, as Mike said, he's provided you an overview of the project itself. It's about a $6 million project. We are working very closely with Senator Feinstein, Senator Padilla. We have submitted this project for consideration of an earmark request. We have also requested the same from Assemblymember Garcia and Senator Hueso at the state level. We're confident that there may be an opportunity for either the entire amount or a portion of that amount to be paid through assistance from the federal or state government. We are asking, and we would be requesting a letter of support from the school district. Last week, we were in front of the Calexico City Council. They have provided us a letter of support. We have various community organizations that have also submitted letters of support. We need to demonstrate that there is community support behind the project in order for us to be successful and competitive with requesting some of these funds. So that is essentially the reason we're here today. Director Gonzalez spoke to you earlier, but on behalf of the staff, we're also making sure that we provide you the technical details, but also request a letter of support from your body here. So we have a sample letter that I believe we've shared and could answer any additional questions that you may have, and would be happy to do so. So that concludes our presentation.
I do have one question in regards to this project. A lot of people exercise on that canal bank. So my question is, what kind of material, how are you going to cover it? Because there's a lot of people that use that.
That's a good question, because we do see that where a lot of residents are using that as a walkway. We're planning to cover it up with dirt, basically. Once it's relocated, it's just covering it up. We don't want to leave it as an open channel because you get kids going in and playing and all that. So we want to just bring in dirt, cover it up, and then from there, it's taken care of.
All right, that's all I have.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Oh, no, thank you. I just want to say thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. We
Thank you for your
appreciate the
time.
information.
You're welcome.
Okay. We already did item G. Item H, public hearing. H1, the Board of Education will conduct a public hearing to allow the public's input regarding the district's proposal draft local control and accountability plan, LCAP, for the 2021, 2022, 2022, 2023, and 2023, 2024 school years, and the 2021, 2022 LCFF budget overview for parents. Carlos?
So we open the hearing, and if there's any questions, we'll take those questions now, and if there are not any questions, then we'll close the hearing.
No. Carlos?
Seeing no questions, then it's closed.
Thank you. That was H1. H2, the Board of Education will conduct a public hearing to allow the public input regarding the district's proposed budget for 2021, 2022. Mr. Vega?
So before the public hearing is closed, we have a presentation. So good evening, members of the board, community, colleagues, Superintendent Gonzalez, everyone in attendance. My name is Cesar Vega, your Assistant Superintendent of Business, co-presenting your 21-22 original budget and 2020-21 estimated actuals budget, co-presented with Maribel Pais, our business manager. So it's a pleasure to be here, and this is the third budget that I present to you since my tenure began here in Calexico. And I take a lot of pride on this budget presentations because there's a lot of hard work behind closed doors on how to best put together these plans. So let me just start by saying that budgets in the state of California, they're moving targets. They're subject to change all the time. Budgets, because of our market economy, the way we are funded, we are subject to changes in the economy. Therefore, throughout the year, we have to make changes and we have to make revisions and bring them to you, first interim, second interim, and because we're not in a negative qualification, we don't need a third interim, but, we do bring updates to you throughout the fiscal year. So without further ado, here we go. So next slide. So board, everything, as you know, I've shared this before, everything that we do in the business department when it comes to budgets, it's guided and governed by California Education Code 42127. So we have to present to you a budget today, and it has to be adopted a couple of weeks from now. Then the county has X number of days to review what we presented to you after it is adopted, and then they also approve it. So what I'm trying to tell you is that everything that we do in the business department when it comes to our budget, it is not only internally audited, put together, it is also supervised, evaluated, and at the end, it is approved by the County Office of Ed. In this case, Imperial County Office of Education. So do know that what we present to you, it goes through a process where it is checked constantly before it is submitted to the state of California. All right, next slide. So what we are gonna present tonight, there's a few items. So whenever we present to you a new budget, we also have to present to you an estimated actuals report on how we are predicting that we will be closing the current year. So in essence, it's two reports in one. So Maribel and I will be presenting that to you. So again, the new budget that we're proposing for the next fiscal year and how we are preparing to, close or estimating to close the current year. We are also going to present to you a multi-year projection and a cash flow, and then we'll open it up for questions. Next slide. All right, so in our world, in the business department world, the budget development process really starts in January, when the governor first introduces a proposed budget for the upcoming year. And again, that proposal that the governor proposes at that time, it is based on certain economic conditions that have happened in the prior months. But then again, it gets revised in what we call the May revision. At that point, it is also a proposed budget revision based on economic factors from the most recent prior months. So the budget that I'm about to present to you is reflecting the May revision estimated numbers that were given to us. That's how we have prepared the budget. I can tell you from experience that there's still a process in which the governor is required to make his final estimates by the May revision, but the legislature has time for them as well to negotiate with the governor certain aspects of the budget that he is proposing and certain changes. So my point is that even though we are presenting to you a budget based on the May revision numbers, it is still subject to change. And I'll give you a perfect example. If you recall last year, when we were right in the middle of that pandemic, we were presenting to you a budget that included a 10% cut in funding to education. 3 days before the end of the school year, or before the fiscal year, June 30th, the legislature and the governor struck a deal that restored that 10% and, other items. So we had to have a 45-day budget revision that needed to be presented to you, to the board, on or before August 15th. So we have 45 days whenever there is major changes in the budget. So the point is that this may not be the final numbers. We don't know. There might be something taken away from it or something added or redistributed, what the governor has proposed. So if that happens, if there are major changes, then we will have a 45-day budget revision to present to you on or before August 15th. If that is not the case, if pretty much the numbers remain somewhat the same, then the next major budget update will be unaudited actuals, which is on or before September 15th. That's when we close the current year, and we make revisions to by then will be 21-22. Does that make sense? All right. Yes, sir.
What is a statutory COLA and compounded COLA?
So the statutory COLA is what the governor, by law, based on economic conditions, is what, determined that we need to have the COLA. That's the COLA that is allocated for that fiscal year. So compounded COLA means that there is an added percentage to it. It's more than what the statutory COLA is.
And
So
by which one do we go?
both. We get both. In this case, what is being proposed is both. It's a just over a 5% COLA that has been recommended. That's what we used to prepare the budget. But if you recall, Mr. Calderon, last year or the current year, we didn't get a COLA increase. That was, when the governor restored the 10%, there were no cuts to the current budget. He never gave us a COLA. So what the Governor Newsom is doing now is not only adding what was supposed to be given to us a year ago, he's adding it to next year's COLA. In addition to that, he's making a one-time additional contribution to the state's general fund to fund education that also increases the COLA by 1% to a total of 5.07%. So that's the COLA that we have used for the upcoming fiscal year, 21-22. Okay? All right. Next slide. So again, everything that we do in the business department goes through a process where, look, the county office of ed, they give us the estimated numbers or the assumptions that we need to put together our budget. And how they get that information, again, is through several state agencies, the State Legislative Analyst Office, Department of Finance, the School Service of California. I mean, there are a number of organizations out there that do provide economic predictions, factors that helps not only the state, but also, the county to give us the assumptions that we are building our budget based on. So in this case, as you can see, we have assumptions that we are using for a multi-year projection as well for 22-23, 23-24. And we highlighted in yellow the areas that are more impactful to us as it pertains to our budget. The most noticeable one is for 21-22. If you look at the highlighted average daily attendance, that average daily attendance pertains to our last and best certified report, CalPAS report. I think it was period 2 back in for fiscal year 2019-2020. So my point in here is that for the upcoming school year, 21-22, we are being funded at that level, even though we have declined in enrollment and our average daily attendance really, truly is way below that. But because of the pandemic, because what's going on in the economic recovery, the governor has given us this funding flexibility, if you want to call it, because, in recognition that, we may have declining enrollment, related to the pandemic. So next year in 22-23, we are not going to have that anymore. At least not up until now. We haven't been told that will continue for the following 22-23 fiscal year. So as you can see, there is a significant decline in average daily attendance. In our world, enrollment and average daily attendance has two meanings. Enrollment is used by the HR department to determine the maximum number of staff, support, and material supplies that we need to have for the maximum number of students enrolled. ADA, however, is what we use, or what the state uses, to fund education for every school district. That's why we call it average daily attendance. And the percentage, again, that we are being funded for 21-22 is 8,669.87. So just keep that in mind because that affects our multi-year projections. Declining enrollment, has consequences. No more, we lose revenue. Yes, Mr. Alvarado.
And real quick, just how you pointed out, the only reason why we're at that number is because we were funded, but our actual number is 8,348?
Yep, that is our actual number. That if we were not being held harmless, that will be the number that we will be funded for the 21-22 school year. Any more questions thus far? Okay, so, and again, if you look at, obviously, there are programs that are way underfunded that the general fund has to contribute to offset the cost. And these are services that the students need. Definitely they need to have the services. But unfortunately, we don't receive enough revenue to offset the cost. And that is, for instance, transportation of regular ed students or special ed students, special ed programs. We are heavily underfunded, even though we are required to provide those services. And again, those services, they do need to be provided. So that has an impact on our general fund because every year we have to make a contribution. STIRS and PERS, as you know, from many years ago, they have continued to move up. So we have to make adjustments, and that impact comes, directly to the general fund. So, there are a number of issues that we have to deal with as we are not only declining in enrollment, but also these other issues that affect our funding. Okay? All right, moving along. Next slide. All right, so as stated before, we have in this budget, I'm presenting to you two reports. The first one that we will be covering is a 2020-21 estimated actuals. And again, this is how we are best projecting in concluding the current fiscal year, 2020-2021. So, the way you read this spreadsheet is basically every column, we are comparing how we projected to conclude the year back in second interim, and now what estimated actuals, what we are presenting to you today. And there are a few changes, mostly on the revenue side because of the one-time funds that we have received since second interim. So, and there were changes for the LCFF calculator. That's the main tool that we use to project our general fund. ESSER 2 entitled funds, there was some increases. The in-person instruction and expanded learning grant, the last board meeting you approved it. So, and also there was a little bit of decline in revenue for the strong workforce grant. So that's on the revenue side. On the expenditure side, obviously we had expenditures that increased due to grant revenues. So when we get a grant, obviously we record it in the revenue side of the ledger, but we also have to record it in the expenditure because we have to spend the money. So there are changes in there as well. But overall, when you compare revenues versus expenditures in I think it's green, where the column that says change in the green area, it tells you right there under total expenditures, what has increased or has decreased. But also take a look at where it says excess deficiency and revenues over expenditures. We are projecting to finish the school year on the positive with what is it, $501,000? So, which is a good thing. We never want to finish on the negative. So there's a savings in there that translates to our ending fund balance. So any questions between second interim, estimated actuals?
No.
All right. So next slide. All right. So I saved the best for last. This is where my right hand, Maribel Pais, will start presenting to you.
Good evening. So just as Mr. Vega explained, our original budget is developed with the most updated information from our governor's May revision. We actually, if you can see, our restricted and unrestricted combined LCFF resources is of 107 million, and that is actually coming from the LCFF, our local control funding formula calculator, that's actually provided from our California Department of Education, and is reviewed and sent forward from Imperial County Office of Education to us. So pretty much the 107 million, it's a set amount that is coming from our calculator. That includes the 5.7 mega COLA increase. Again, I just want to emphasize this is a proposed mega COLA. This is not the final number until our governors actually signs or enacted budget. So this is a proposed COLA, mega COLA percentage that they're recommending for us to utilize for original budget, but it's not a final number yet. The 37 million of our federal revenues, this is pretty much, it's an inflated number due to all of our federal one-time funding. Our 37 million actually includes our ESSER 2, 16 million for our ESSER 2 funds, As I presented it last time, we actually receiving 18 million of our ESSER 2 funds, which of 2 million, around approximately 2 million, we're using this year, 2021, and we're projecting to utilize 16 million of this 18 million into our 21-22. It also includes our ESSER 3 American Rescue Plan, and this actually, we're allocating 10 million, even though we are granting a Calexico Unified School District, it's granting a total of 42 million. We're only allocating 10 million to 21-22 because we're also getting the ESSER, we also have the ESSER monies that we have to spend. And the way that we divided the 42 is for 22-23 fiscal year, we actually budgeted 25 million, and then for last year, 23-24, we're allocating 7 million. So that's how we're distributing the ESSER 3 funding through the 3 years, as we have until September of 2024 to actually spend those funds. Any questions on the federal revenue?
No.
Our state is actually compounded over lottery, the more lottery restricted and unrestricted, and it also includes 50% of our in-person instruction and expanded learning, and pretty much this is half of the funding that we're gonna be utilizing this year, 2021, and we're moving 50% of the in-person instruction and expanded learning to our 21-22. And our local revenues pretty much is a status quo from prior years. So that makes a total of 166 million of revenues for, or they were projecting for 21-22 original budget. For under expenditures or certificate classify an employee, this actually includes our step and column increases, and it's actually everything based out of our position control from our escape system. Or escape, every year, as Mr. Vega explained it, every year we start our process in pretty much at the beginning of the calendar year, January. We have to develop a calendar. We have to make sure what positions are rolling forward. We're projecting that will be rolling forward to 21-22. We have to update all of our payroll rates, health and welfare rates, anything that it's pretty much changing for 21-22 before even starting the original budget process. So this certificate classify employee benefits do include the step and columns. They include also the 1.23% increase for unemployment insurance that is also impacting our budget this year. Is including our pension rates increases, or workers' comp increase. So it's actually everything has to be updated before coming up with these numbers. Our books, supplies and services is pretty much status quo, plus all of the one-time federal funding money that we're gonna be, and state money that we're gonna be projecting that we're going to be utilizing for 21-22. So that gives us a total of 169 million on expenses, giving us a deficit spending of 3.7 million. How our ending fund balance looks, that looks at 14.27% due to our deficit spending. Any questions?
I have a couple of questions.
Go ahead, Mr. Pena.
The combined benefits for, I guess that will be for both certificated and classified, right?
Yes.
Okay, so you said that includes their pension plans, theirs, spurs, workers' comp, although everything that goes into on their behalf from us.
Yes, correct.
Okay. Out of that, what is the actual cost of just benefits, health benefits? Do you have that amount?
You health and welfare benefits, you said?
So, I'm sorry?
You said health and welfare benefits?
Just only health and welfare, yes.
That's around 20 million.
20 million.
In health and welfare. And this year, luckily, our executive team was able to negotiate for us not to get an increase on our Blue Cross, Anthem Blue Cross. So we only got an increase on our SIMSA insurance and our dental, 4%.
Okay.
But I mean, the big one, which is our health insurance, luckily we did not got any increase on our health and welfare this year. But we are, for our multi-year projection, we are using a 5% increase.
Okay. And for what I understand is, there's nothing that we can actually do about stairs and pairs and workers' comp. There's nothing, there's no negotiating.
No.
They told us, this is what you need to pay, that's it.
Yes,
Right.
it's coming from the state.
Yeah,
Yes,
so there's
all
nothing
right.
that we can do about that. So when it comes to health and benefits for our employees, if we, well, you know what, no, I cannot say that. Do you project, Mr. Vega, do you project, or have you talked to somebody about what will happen if our health and welfare benefits go up after we get out of this pandemic?
So, as Maribel stated, we were able to negotiate no increase for 21-22, but we do anticipate, and this is mostly through Keenan, our broker. They are the ones that really provide us the data, you know, and their predictions as to how the health market is doing. I can tell you, just by looking around and with what's going on with the pandemic, the likelihood of insurance rates increasing over the next few years, I think it's very high. But again, you know, God knows, we didn't know where we're going to be a year and a half ago, and look at us. But I do anticipate, again, every year we have had increases in health and welfare benefits. Luckily, I think there might have been a year that we didn't in the past, but this upcoming year, again, we were lucky not to have an increase. But years after, you know, I predict that we will have, that's why we put together, you know, we put a 5% increase in every one of those years just in case. It could be more, it could be less. So we will adjust, you know, as we, you know more information. But yeah, the likelihood of having increases is there.
Okay. Thank you, that's all I have. Thank you, Mr. Vega.
Yeah, I got one comment. The total expenditures is 169,778. So salary and benefits is 75% of the total budget. That's a big chunk. It's something you cannot control. And then you're facing the structural deficit of 3,700,000 just in that 1 year alone, which will keep increasing the following 2 years.
Yes, correct. And
Yeah.
even though we're receiving these one-time funds, we can only use it for one-time expenditures, not for permanent salaries and benefits and things like that. So our deficit spending is still there. Why? We're declining in enrollment. For many years, we didn't get a COLA increase, and everything was continued to going up. So again, our multi-year projection is, we are projecting deficit spending.
Yeah,
For
plus
the
your
upcoming
STRS and your
years.
PERS will
Yes.
continue increasing.
Yes, our
Every year.
LCFF, which is our main source of funding, is not enough to cover all of our expenditures.
Right. Thank you.
Next slide, please. So these are our multi-year projections, and as Mr. Vega explained at the beginning, these multi-year projections are based on the latest information we have from the state, from all of our government agencies, and our governors may revise. This, the LCFF resource source, it does include the 5.7 COLA increase for 21-22. For 22-23, we did use a 2.48 that they are projecting, and then for 23-24, we're using the 3.11% of COLA increase for LCFF sources. However, we also, for 22-23 and 23-24, we did have to project our current ADA enrollment, or projection for ADA, that it will be declining. So that's why, if you can see, we're going from 107 million to 103 million on 22-23 for our LCFF source, and then for 23-24, 104 million. And that's because of declining in enrollment. Or federal revenues, as I mentioned, for 21-22, we do have the ESSER 2 money is still available, that's 16 million. Then we have the 10 million for ESSER 3. So that becomes the 37 plus all of our Title Is and other federal funds that we have. For 22-23, we're no longer projecting that we'll have the ESSER 2, but we'll have the ESSER 3 with 25 million. So that makes 34 million. And then for 23-24, it's 7 million for the ESSER 3, the remaining of the ESSER 3 that we're projecting to utilize for 23-24. And then pretty much the state and the local, it's status quo. The expenditures as well, we use all of the pension rates that we have, the latest information we have. For the health and welfare, we did a 5%. For workers' comp, we also, because that goes up every year, around 5%. So we use all of those assumptions to actually build our 22-23 and 23-24. Bottom line, by 23-24, we are projecting to have an ending fund balance of 7 million, giving us a 5.8%. Any questions?
Can you give me 1 second? I move we extend this meeting until 10:30. Is there a second?
Second.
The motion by myself, Mr. Calderon, second by Mr. Alvarado. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 5-0. Thank you. So looking at this, even with the Esler's funds, in a couple of years, we will be down to almost our minimum requirements for our reserves.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't even want to ask what it looks like for 24-25.
We're running out of cash.
Yes.
Unless something else happens.
Let me remind you that economic conditions change. We still have to close our current year, so we have to update our multi-year projection, by September 15. So, things can change. But overall, in the grand scheme of things, though, based on the assumptions and the numbers that we have been given thus far, if we were to have a fourth year in our multi-year projection, we would not be able to meet our minimum reserves, which is 3%.
I noticed that you are counting on our ADA to go to 7,000 and change, right?
I'm hoping that our ADA after the pandemic somehow increases, but
But your calculations are based on our ADA
based
being down
on
to.
yes, based on what our ADA numbers look like, yes.
Yeah. Okay,
Sorry.
thank you.
We are declining in enrollment of an average of like 200, 250 kids yearly. And we also did an analysis, SchoolWorks presented an analysis back in October 2020 of our demographics and student enrollment. And so we're basing our information on that and on our current P2 attendance report, ADA. Mhm. Any other questions?
No.
Again, the original budget, 21-22, is one of the most difficult budgets to project at the beginning. Of an original budget, you do have to take in consideration all of your vacant positions. You would have to allocate fully funding 100% for those positions. We know that in reality, we're not going to be hiring all those positions by July 1st. So first and second interim always looks better because we have the savings for those positions. So, but at the original budget is your worst case scenario, is where you have to under budget your revenues, over budget your expenditures, and prepare for the worst. So always the original budget is the most challenged one. Cash flows, and next slide, please, thank you. Cash flow and deferrals. So one of the things that the governor is also proposing under the May revise is to eliminate the majority of our cash flow deferrals. So I really don't foresee any issues with their cash flow or upcoming year, and he's only leaving our June, the end of the year of June 2022 deferral. That's for principal allocation through July. So we will be okay with the level of reserve to cover all the expenditures for that month. Any questions?
No.
Next slide, please.
Thank you, Maribel. So, like I said, our biggest challenge is our decline in enrollment. That's, I've said that many times. But we also have issues with our workers' comp rate increases. That's a very expensive, expenditure. Pension rates, look, from where we were 7 years ago to now, they have increased significantly. It's the COLA that we get, to be honest with you, sometimes, in a non-pandemic year, the COLA that we get is nowhere near enough to offset the impact and the true cost of running our business each and every year, because of all the factors that are listed in there. That's why we have a structural deficit. When declining enrollment, like I said, is the biggest, but we do need to look at workers' comp, our insurance premiums. Again, this year, for the upcoming year, they're not going to increase, but they will increase at some point. We are still without a contract with both of our bargaining units, so none of these projections that we presented to you today include any future compensation packages for any one of our units. So that will be at that time, and because we cannot project what that's going to be, if that happens, at that time we have to make a revision to the budget and show you what the impact will be. Yes, sir.
Before I forget, in your previous budgets, are you including any type of increase to salaries?
No, I don't include that because I don't know what the number's going to be.
Okay.
It's really, and plus, remember that anything that we, tentatively settle on, before I bring it to you for board approval, it has to go through the county for their review. And the county does not let us put in our budget anything that is not an actual estimate. We don't know where we're gonna, we don't know what that impact is gonna be. So that's why we can never put that in there, because of that reason.
So question, so just for the public, so the public can hear this, and because I don't know the answer to this question. Let's say that we agree on negotiations, and we agree on a certain amount on percentage. We send that to the county. Can they disagree with us and say, no, you cannot do it?
Well, first of all, I wouldn't send anything to the county that I knew that we couldn't afford, because they will, they oversee us.
Yes.
Their job is to keep us fiscally solvent.
Afloat, yeah.
Okay, so they wouldn't approve it. They
So
would
can
just
they
not
say
approve
no,
it.
even if we say yes? Let's say
Even
for-
if you say yes, their job is to keep us fiscally solvent.
And they
And
can-
they will not approve the AB 1200 disclosure, financial disclosure.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Okay.
We would be,
So-
we would be irresponsible to submit anything that we cannot afford.
Yeah, it wouldn't look good on me to recommend the county to approve something that we couldn't fiscally, based on our economic conditions, that we couldn't afford. So, and again, I don't know what that number or percentage is, or if we get to that point. But again, the county is there for a reason. They oversee us. They approve every financial report, like I stated before. They approve everything that we submit to them. They review it before, because remember, they also put their seal of approval and before they send it to Sacramento for final, filing. So we couldn't do that.
Okay, thank you.
Any more questions on the fiscal challenges ahead? Next slide. So with that, board, thank you again. I want to thank again Maribel and her team. I've always said it, that I'm blessed to have Maribel on the fiscal side of the house helping me, because she's very experienced, very knowledgeable. But this year, in particular, board, it has been extremely challenging to put together a budget and to put together our estimated actuals. and it's going to be a challenge closing the year. But nevertheless, you have a very good team, and I do want to recognize them and thank them for everything that they do, and that includes Fabiola and every single one that works in our business department. Thank you, and with that, I conclude my presentation. Good night.
Thank you, Cesar.
Thank you.
Thank you, Cesar.
Excellent
Thank you,
report.
Fabiola.
Thank you, Maribel.
Fabiola, Okay, so that was the presentation on H2. So, again, H2, the Board of Education will conduct a public hearing to allow the public input regarding the district's proposal budget for 2021, 2022. Carlos?
Yeah, so that
we
one,
need to open it, right?
right, open it, and then the board will, there'll be an item at the next board meeting, June 24th. That's where the board will take action on it.
Well, so we will conduct the hearing, the public hearing, but not now?
Right now was the hearing and the presentation, and then so the board will take action on the 24th. There'll actually be an action item for the board to take action on and approve.
Okay. Okay, so on H2, so it says that we will conduct a public hearing, so we're not gonna conduct the public hearing right now? So do we need to open the hearing then?
We can open it, close it, and then,
Well, we are virtually opening the hearing, if anybody has any comments, right?
no questions?
No questions? So we're gonna, at this point, we're gonna close the hearing? That's it. Item I, presentations. We already did I1, we already did I2, and we already did I3. Item J, consent agenda. The items appearing will be acted upon one by one motion without discussion unless any item is pulled for separate consideration and or action. Is there a motion to approve this agenda?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Romero, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Magallanes. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Motion passes 5-0. Item K. K1, Superintendent's Report. Carlos?
Well, good evening, trustees, admin team, staff, and our community watching via live stream. So this week, we conclude instruction for the 2021 school year. Thursday, June the 10th, will be the last day of instruction and the last day of school for our students for this school year. Also, Friday, June the 11th, will be teacher checkout day per the contract. And then summer school will begin and run June 21st through July 22nd, and it will be held at CHS 9 at Cesar Chavez and Enrique Camarena Junior High School. Our in-person return to school this year so far, as of June 1st, approximately, we have about 2,000 students attending in person. And as part of our transitioning plan, we're now notifying staff, students, parents, and the community that we will be transitioning to a 100% model in the fall. In regards to our sports update, our sports seasons have concluded, except for track, which continues to compete in the CIF finals this coming Saturday, June the 12th, in San Diego, and we currently have 2 students who are in the spotlight. We have Madison Longton. So Madison will be the only representative from Calexico competing at the CIF San Diego Section Division I track and field finals at Del Norte High School on Saturday, and then she will be competing in the 3,200 meter race. Rose Avila is an alternate in the discus event for the CIF finals, and then summer conditioning programs are slated to begin next week. We would like to congratulate all of our student athletes for their perseverance, dedication, and commitment to their sports, teammates, and coaches. We extend our deepest gratitude to our coaches who, despite the obstacles presented by the COVID pandemic, made it possible for our athletes to compete and have an excellent year. Our retiree and years of service recognition ceremony was held on Wednesday, June the 2nd, here at Cesar Chavez Elementary School. We physically congratulated our retirees for the 2019-20 and the 2020-21 school years, and virtually celebrated our employees for their years of service to the district. Thank you to all of our employees for your hard work and dedication, especially during the COVID-19 pandemic. And congratulations to all of our retirees We wish you a wonderful retirement. The Aurora High School graduation was held on Tuesday, June the 8th at Ward Field. It was a beautiful evening full of awards and great speeches by our graduating students, keynote speaker and principal, Mr. John Moreno. Congratulations to our Aurora graduation class of 2021. We wish you the best in the future, and we know you will accomplish great things. Our elementary and junior high school promotions began the week of June 1st. We would like to congratulate our kindergarten, 6th grade, and 8th grade students on their promotions as they move on to the next level in their educational journey. Lastly, we wish everyone a great summer. This school year has been challenging due to the COVID-19 pandemic. However, through everyone's resiliency and perseverance, we have successfully been navigating through it. We want to thank everyone and have a restful summer vacation. Some upcoming activities: we do have the high school graduations, which will take place tomorrow, Thursday, and Friday the 11th. They will be by last name. On June the 10th, Thursday, they will be from A through K, and then on Friday they will be from the letters L through Z, and both ceremonies start at 7:30 p.m. at Ward Field. Our next regular board meeting will be on Thursday, June 24th at 5 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gonzalez. That was K1 Superintendent's Report. K2 Measure V Update.
Good evening, Board of Trustees, Administration. My name is Kim Desert. I'm representing School Site Solutions. We're the project manager on several of the projects that are ongoing right now. First of all, the 7 relos and the district office landscape, they will begin moving into those 7 relos on Monday, June 14th. We walked them yesterday, and they're looking very nice for the staff that are going to move in there. On the A3 building, if you drive by, you'll see the installation of the outside stairs, the canopies. You won't see the condenser lines because those are up on the roof. The marker boards are being installed, and the project remains on schedule to complete in August for the teachers to move in. The window eyebrows and wainscoting to be installed during the summer so it won't impact the educational program. And I heard that they're having summer school at the 9th grade campus, which will be a big help to get this finished. We do have one non-Measure V project, which is the dual elementary school parking lot. We're on track for the DSA submittal in June, in the next 2 weeks, correct, Mr. Sanders? Yep. And so the design is complete. We should have approval by August of 21. We'll put it out for bid in September. The board should be seeing it in October of 21 to approve. They'll start construction in October of 21, and there's a 5-month period for construction. It should be done in February of 22. Are there any questions?
The first comment you made, Ms. Desert, what was it, the first comment?
The 7 relos and the district office landscaping.
The what again?
The 7 relos that were moved from the high school to the district office.
Okay, all right.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, those 7 relos.
They'll be done when?
They're going to start moving in on Monday.
Monday, June 14th.
Anything else?
Anybody else?
No.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That was K2. K3 Measure Q Update. We have a couple of comments. The first one would be Alvarado Belinda.
Good evening, Board of Trustees, the community, and the administration. I am part of the Measure Q. We had a presentation done for the schematic design and for the lease-back presentation that I wanted to let you know that it was a good presentation. It was a new concept that was presented to us. And personally, I liked the concept of the LLB, which is the lease-back for the measure, moving forward with the Measure Q. It's a concept that was brought to you. I don't know if it was brought to them yet or not yet? Okay. There's a couple of points that I wanted to let you know that I liked about them. Even though it's a new concept in construction, it brings a lot of accountability and transparency for our community, which is good, and the aspect of using this concept in the future. Number two, I like the idea that it's a concept that, you know, when it's implemented correctly, it could be cost savings for the district, for the community. Number three, it's a concept that needs to be implemented by somebody that knows and has experience with it, that I asked, and apparently Mr. Vega and Mr. Dominguez have used it. And the major concern that I had with the new concept of the lease-back was that if it was gonna take away from our construction team, in other words, if it was gonna replace anything. So Mr. Dominguez talked about this concept that it's better for him because you don't get the lowest bidder. What it does, it helps the district get the most comprehensive bid. In other words, we get the best builder, the best materials. It's not just, the lowest is not always good. And in a school district and spending a lot of money with a Measure V that we had already spent and going forward with the Measure Q, it's a lot of money to be constructing. So we want to put the best and the best materials, the best person that can do the job. And it's, to me, I like the concept. Because it gives us a greater sense that things are being better and being constructing better for our children, for the community. So I just wanted to reach out to you and tell you why I like the LLB concept and the schematic of the Measure Q moving forward. And I really like the team that's working, you know, that has been working with us, the construction, and thank you all for supporting both the Measure V and the Measure Q. I'm very happy to be a part of all this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Alvarado. Also on Measure Q, I have Ben Horton.
Okay. If you looked at the slips that we put in, it was for M1.
What?
M1. And I think that we got a little confused on what we were supposed to, did it say M1?
It says OM1, but it says Measure Q, so,
Well, that's what we were going to talk about.
okay.
And so that's why we were a little kind of out of it a little bit.
Mhm.
But I think we're back on the same sheet of music that we were supposed to talk about. We're talking about M1, and I think we're all going to allude to it, and then these maps really suffocate me, about the design and how it's going to be implemented and how it's going to work out. And we're very much in support of the designs that Mr. Sanders has put forth. And I'll let my counterparts here kind of expand on that part too.
Good evening, board and everyone else. Pleasure to see everybody again. So again, we are speaking about, we thought it was item M1, but it's still Measure Q, which is fine. We can address and speak that there. Again, we are community members of both Measure Q and the new BAS committee that the district and the school board did form to help review and look at some of the projects that the district and yourselves are considering. So again, you see us as representatives. We know there's additional folks that probably couldn't be here, maybe because of the timeliness of the meeting or the hour it is now. Just know that Measure Q, our chairperson is Mr. Daniel Romero, and he, I'm sure, wanted to be here. BASC is still forming, but I believe that'll happen soon. But again, we do want to share with the district and commend all of you for forming a good, strong team to help you with your facilities plans and construction projects. The communication on these committees has been both informative, communication's been very well, and very professional, with a big emphasis on transparency. We talked about that even at our last meeting Monday, right? We had a meeting this Monday. So those qualities, characteristics have been very important to this committee as we look and review these facilities projects that the board and district is considering. I do want to recognize Mr. Alvarado, Mr. Romero, as they are your representatives, selected representatives for these committees. Their participation this week was valuable. They asked very thorough questions, helped vet the whole process with our committee members. And again, you've selected these individuals to, participate in these committees, but also bring it back to your board, your meetings, to help speed up process, and maybe meetings won't last as lengthy, but again, those are your representatives. But we do want to recognize and thank them. So again, we did have a chance to go through the projects, ask questions, vet the designs, and I believe, as a committee, we do feel very favorable, very positive about the direction these projects are going. You've heard some comments already, so I'm not going to repeat them. One additional comment I do want to bring to your attention that came from our committee discussion, again, was regarding input from staff and educators as these projects move forward. We do know that during the last few months it's been very challenging, of course, to bring people together, provide these input. You may not have been able to have everybody as you wanted. You'll see tonight in these drawings, we've seen these presentations about 3 or 4 times already, but you're going to see that the design is there, very beautiful. I think the community will be very excited about what you're looking at. But as the project moves to the next phase, you're going to begin looking at the interior of the buildings, the details, the design, and I think that's where the request, again, and I know our committee heard that, your staff heard that, continued input, collaboration with your staff so that they have a sense of belonging as the construction and buildings are developed. Again, your educators, your staff, this is their second home for many of them. So it is important that they get their input. We know that's happened. The committee heard that, and that'll continue. Again, finally, I think we just wanted to share our support for the program or the project as it proceeds. Our committee is here. We do know that the district board does value the input from the committee, takes that in consideration. So again, we're here today as representatives just to offer our support from these committees as we've vetted the projects, and we do know, the decision will be up to the board. It is your final action, but the committee is in favor. Anything else?
As you can see, this committee and the group that's putting things together for your review are vetting everything to make sure that what we see, you will see, and what questions that possibly you're going to be asking, we'll have asked them and have it explained to you so you can digest it better. When you look at these designs, one of the things that when we started off with the measure V, and now we're going into the measure Q, we want to give the students an experience that they can say, I went to Calexico High. And that's something that I'm very proud to say that it will be. And I hope that you will look at it with an open mind and see what's being put forth to you. And you have to excuse me, I'm suffocating with these masks. But look at it with an open mind. And Mr. Sanders has put something together. As you look at it, you'll see that there's something really with a lot of substance. With that, I will end, unless anybody else wants to say anything. And we really thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Horton.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Now, still on K3, Measure Q update.
Good evening, board members, community members that are watching remotely, staff. We have been working towards the due diligence piece of the Measure Q project. So far, what we've accomplished as far as the due diligence component is that we have prepared a Phase 1 environmental site assessment. The Phase 1 environmental site assessment, as I explained before, is completed, and it did identify some areas of concern that we're going to have to mitigate for during the construction project. So, and that's the purpose of the Phase 1. Our next steps for this process in the due diligence period is to submit the Phase 1 environmental site assessment and the soil samples to the Department of Toxic Substance Control, hold a scoping meeting with the DTSC, and they will tell us exactly what our test areas are going to be and what we call step-out samples to make sure that once we do the mitigation for any of the soils that need to go away, that we make sure we get all of it. So it's a process. This process for DTSC will go into something called the Preliminary Environmental Site Assessment Work Plan. That tells us the test area, and then the removal action would be called a RAW, a Removal Action Work Plan. The total time frame for this is approximately 9 to 12 months once we start the scoping meeting, at the scoping meeting phase. And that should take place within the next month, I would imagine, as long as DTSC can work with us in their schedule. So that's the environmental piece of it. The other portion that we've been working on is, in terms of the due diligence, are the Title V California Code of Regulation requirements. And the Title V California Code of Regulation requirements are items that we look at from a geologic standpoint, power lines, pipelines, the presence of lust sites as leaking underground storage tanks, or the possibility of that. We did find one that has been removed, so that's the good news. But we are also having to take a look at traffic, and we need to look at, we do have some high pressure, we have a high pressure pipeline that's going to need a risk assessment, and power lines that will need risk assessments also. And all of that can have an effect on our setback requirements for the buildings. So we're contracting, you'll be getting a couple of contracts from a consultant that does that specialty studies that prepares risk assessment. We've also been working on the educational specification development. Mr. Sanders here will be coming up here shortly. We have held several design meetings. I think there's been 11 or 12 total, starting back in December of 2020. And our last one was on May 14th. And our design meetings with the project management and design team, we developed general design guidelines relating to safety and security, circulation, sustainability, and community use. We identified the spaces needed to support the learning activities and social development. And in addition to that, once the board will see the presentation and approves the presentation, then we will be taking back and we will be presenting to the staff at Calexico High School in an in-service, but we needed to do that after the board approves the concept here. Okay? So that's my update. Do you have any questions?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
That was K3 Measure Q update. K4 Educational Services. I got.
Good evening, everybody. Our president, Ciro Calderon, did ask if we could share a little bit of what our department does so that our community is aware of what are some of the activities that we do. Our team does lots of things in the different departments, but I did tell my team to highlight 5 items and to not go over 3 minutes. So if you want to put a timer for everybody for 3 minutes so that we make sure that we don't go beyond that. So I'm going to start with educational services. So my department oversees all the departments related to education. So for example, I oversee 8 departments. I have the academics, English learners, family resource center, instructional technology, special education, expanded learning, migrant, state, and federal projects. And we meet once to twice a week to go over our different goals that we have for the year and our planning. Another thing that my office does is anything related to discipline, attendance, uniform complaints, procedures. So my office oversees the expulsions and the SARB appeals, the UCPs, all the different components of the UCPs, and any parent concern or complaint. So that goes all through my office. Under enrollment, my office works with our HR and business to do projections and estimates of the number of teachers we're going to need at the elementary level, junior high, and high school. So we look at master schedules. We also work with inter-district requests. That's when a family who resides in this community in this district wants to go to a district in El Centro, for example. And so we have to have there's specific reasons that is allowable by ed code, and so we make sure that they are using some of those ed codes. We also do the intra-district, and that is when a parent, for example, who resides in the area of Bland Charles, for example, wants to attend dual elementary because of daycare reasons. And so that's another program that my department oversees. We also manage all the online registration, and we work with our technology department with that. And I also do everything related to TK early admittance and interviews. So that's all related to enrollment. I also oversee the LCAP plan. I hold all the stakeholder input meeting. I analyze all the data. I, along with business, do the annual update and the board updates. Last year, remember 2021, we didn't have an LCAP. That's why I haven't brought up updates to you, but we will start with the new LCAP, bringing updates. And then the local indicators. I'm also in charge of doing all those surveys. Under records, so our office generates all kinds of records requests. So we work a lot with the community. So anything related to transcripts, even if it's from 1960, we hold transcripts from all years, and we have them in microfiche. And then letters requested from immigration offices, social services requests, warrants, subpoenas, graduation status, military requests, proof of graduations. If there's specific jobs that require discipline records, so we provide all of that. There's way more requests than I listed there, but just so that any request that has to do with education, it comes through my office. So this is basically my 5 highlights that I want to share. I mean, we do a lot more than that, but we don't want to spend all night going over the activities. So the next department that is going to be sharing will be academic services.
Good evening, Board of Trustees, administration, and colleagues and community. So under academic services, our 5 bullets are curriculum professional development. So I oversee the district AVID program, ongoing site support and mentorship to principals. We map out the curricular planning for all the teachers, as well as working with academic support teachers and lead teachers. We're in charge of professional development at all levels throughout the district, including parent trainings. We are also in charge of assessments. So we oversee various assessments, so the CASP or the SBAC state assessments, benchmark diagnostic assessments. That would include the training, monitoring, reporting, and adjusting of calendar dates. Our office is also in charge of all textbook adoptions. So we oversee all textbook adoptions, K-12. Summer school, we are a part of the planning, the preparation, professional development, purchasing of materials, and distributing of technology devices. During these pandemic times, we have also been a part of the COVID-19 related planning. So we've been a part of the distant learning plans, reopening plans, grant funds, input, planning on the learning continuity plan, the LCAP, expanded learning opportunities grant. So again, just a few of our 5.
Thank you.
Good evening. Silvia Yanez, ELL coordinator. I get to oversee what the services that we provide, and some of them are English language development, which is part of what it's a state requirement that we provide. I also get to oversee placement for the newcomers, placement for newcomers at the high school level, which is sometimes can apply and we can use AB 2121, which is an assembly bill that would give us guidance for newcomers at the high school level. I also get to oversee our English intervention services, which is at the elementary level, what we call ELIT teachers. Our EL specialists, which are K-12, we have 4 at the district, 2 for elementary and 2 for the secondary level. And I also get to oversee the Seal of Biliteracy Awards and celebration. The other item is the English Language Proficiency Assessment, which is the LPAC, which is a state mandated for all English language learners, which in this case, we're always required to have 95% participation rate, and that's a state requirement test. I also get to oversee the DLAC, the District English Language Advisory Committee, which is conducted monthly, parents of English language learners. And I get to oversee the test. There's a new test that we're using, which is part of our learning continuity plan, which is the TEL, and it's an ELD assessment to monitor K-12 students that can be used for screening, diagnose, and progress monitoring of our English language learners. And part of the professional development that I get to oversee, it's everything and anything that has to do with designated ELD and integrated ELD. And for instance, this year we received one on designated ELD and integrated ELD, which was called How English Works. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Hortensia Armendariz, coordinator of the Family Resource Center. Thank you for inviting us and being able to showcase a few of the things that we do. So at the Calexico Family Resource Center and Student Services, we offer students and families wraparound services. Services that include linking students and families to services provided within our schools and within our community. When you have an opportunity, go through that bit link. I know I'm going to show it to you briefly. What we did, and the we is our licensed clinical social worker, Nomer Lagmani, and our counselor, elementary counselor, Alejandra Segura. We developed this resource guide where our parents can go through that resource guide and link. Can you go back a little bit first? Go back to that first one that you had gotten. Yes. So this is for families, for parents, for students, and they can go, right there we have talked about every single school, or I mentioned all our schools, who our vice principals, our principals are, our counselors, our school psychologists, and our rest of our resource staff, because we wanted to put a picture to a name, or a picture to the name, and if they click on a school, it takes them directly to their website. So if you go down a little bit more, you'll see a lot of different community resources available, not only in Calexico, but throughout the valley, where our parents can just go in and find telephone numbers, address, contact persons. And then what we did is on that left-hand side, we have that same list, but on a PDF file. So you can print that, well, download it, print it, or it's interactive, because those are all links that if you click on that blue, it will take you directly to all those different locations. So on the left-hand side, on the bottom, there's also additional resources for even our staff, for SEL instruction for our students, and for our parents. So take advantage of that. We always give that out to our parents and our schools. We've asked them to put it on their websites. We had even shared this resource guide with our teachers at the beginning of the school year. The other item on our bullet that we have there on the other on the slide on that PowerPoint, going to go back to the PowerPoint. If I show you this whole link, it'll take me more than the 3 minutes. Also at the Family Resource Center, we have a homeless facilitator. Going back to the slide, that's where I'm at. Yes, we also have a homeless facilitator, and we both assist students experiencing homelessness by providing school uniforms, school clothes, personal hygiene items, and school supplies. Right now, our homeless facilitator and we are working closely with our seniors, making sure that they had submitted their university applications, they completed FAFSA, their scholarships, and just making sure that they were on track for graduation. We also have 2 licensed clinical social workers, and what they do is school-based therapy. They offer grief parenting support groups, and the reason that you see grief there, well, right now with the pandemic and so much loss that we've had, we had weekly grief loss support groups for our adults. We have grief presentations during the cafecitos at our different sites, and our licensed clinical social workers also assist with contacting our students in foster care or their foster parents. Another thing that we do at the Family Resource Center is we offer the parent trainings and collaborate, with PIQE. Right now, we're also having trainings every Thursday with GABE, also a 12-week parent training, parent institutes that are being offered at our elementary schools. We collaborate with the SURE Helpline, Family Huey, and the CAP Center, which is the Child Abuse Prevention Center. They offer incredible years for our students. And there you have a picture, Dr. Villalobos, homeless facilitator, Maria Bravo, administrative assistant, myself, Eva Lara, and Norma Lagmani, our licensed clinical social workers at the new FRC. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, good evening. I'm Brian Thurman, Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources and Risk Management. Left that one out. Going to review our kind of 5 general areas without going too in depth on the details, but so not an exhaustive list, but a partial list at least, starting with recruitment and selection around staffing. These are developing, maintaining the job descriptions, posting positions, accepting applications, screening candidates, going through that whole process, organizing interview panels, question processes, background and reference checks, live scan, all the credential clearances. We have human resource specialists that are involved in each of these areas that support our team of 6 people in human resources. So second bullet there is performance management. That's around evaluation. So all the evaluation tools, training timelines, support for those managers in the district in supporting their staff, and then any discipline proceedings, and that ranges from minor conference summaries all the way to CTC work with credential revocation type of actions. Then we have the learning and development, safety and health. It's been a big one with COVID, all the safety practices within the workplace. Workers' compensation, program monitoring, very, very detailed work there, and very important to have that accurate and provide accurate information for our employees. And then the pandemic response, as we've experienced recently. And then next you have the compensation and benefits, labor relations. These involve all the different calendars that we have, looking at total compensation, accrued leaves, all of our health benefit programs, costs, any issues that come up with that, trying to help problem solve for all the employees in the district. And then retirement programs and support as people enter into that stage of life and beyond. We have people that sometimes contribute, payments for benefits and things in retirement. We help with that with the business office. And then the last one there is sort of the data with our human resource information systems, position control practices, teacher-to-student ratios, any of the special provisions with FFCRA, supplemental sick leave, FMLA, and then Affordable Care Act is also similar to workers' comp, just very, very detailed work that has to be done very specifically and accurately, or there are some significant fines that come along with those programs. So, any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Thurman.
Good evening to our Board of Education and Superintendent Gonzalez. My name is Lucio Padilla Jr. I'm the proud director of this great-looking staff over there you see at the top. So going just from left, you have, and you have them here in person, we have Javier Romo, Marisa Marmolejo, Aldo Monge, myself, Eduardo Perez, Fernando Reyes, Monica Villaseñor, and Alberto Reyes, who's also here in attendance. And so we prepare for you a brief video presentation of the highlights from our department.
The first driver is access. Access to technology. There are 5 major areas that drive the work of the technology department. The first driver is access. Access to technology. We're very proud to provide a one-on-one learning environment for all our students in which they have access both in school and at home. We also provide a wealth of access to technology for our teachers. But it's not just about the devices that we provide. We also provide other tools, such as learning platforms that enhance the teaching and learning experience for our students and our staff. We also provide tools to support formative assessment, online instruction, STEM, productivity and creativity, and tools to support hybrid instruction. Our second driver is infrastructure, which provides us the broadband capacity to sustain all of our devices and to be able to manage them remotely and provide a safe and secure working and learning environment for everyone. The third driver is professional development. We have a comprehensive plan that supports all teachers, classified staff, administrators, and our parent community. Our fourth driver is systems. We provide leadership and support for CalPADS, for our student information system, and we also provide both technical and instructional support for all departments and for our schools and for our parent community. And we are also leading our district's initiative of creating our portrait of a graduate. Our fifth driver is learning. Every summer, we host a Summer Tech Academy that always proves to be a rich learning experience for our students and for our staff. But the reality is that all of the work from the tech department is always centered on learning, on how do we design and provide rich learning experiences for STEM, for coding, for media production, for collaboration, and for creativity, because it's all about learning.
Any questions?
Yeah. Thank you. It was a
Thank you.
good presentation. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Dennis Price. I'm the Director of Special Education for the Calexico Unified School District. Displayed is a partial list of what the department does on a day-to-day basis for the school district. At present, we have 895 students in the district with an individualized education program, commonly known as an IEP. And this year there were 89 initial assessments and 213 triennial IEPs. So that falls within the statistical expectation of 10% of the overall student population. And then listed below that is the number of students within each of the categories of eligibility, with the largest number of students qualifying under the category of specific learning disability, also known as SLD. We also oversee Section 504 plans. The difference between an IEP and a Section 504 plan is that the IEP falls under special education and IDEA, the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, whereas Section 504 plans are a general education function. But we still oversee that program, and the psychologists at each of our school sites are the ones who facilitate those plans with parents and students to ensure that those students are able to access their education. The department also does data tracking, and we need to ensure compliance with state and federal agencies. We need to determine eligibility under child find obligations, student enrollment, provide appropriate services, and then ensure appropriate staffing in addition to evaluations. And then we are also required to submit to the California Department of Education what is called the Special Education Plan. Also, by its acronym, it's known as the SEP, and we are required to provide interventions and strategies that will allow us to meet the expectations set forth by the state and federal government. And then in the upper right-hand photo, there's a picture of me, and there's a picture of Elizabeth Esqueda, and another picture of Paula McCrory, Those are the 2 administrative assistants for the special education department in the Calexico Unified School District. So the department is fairly large. We have 39 teachers, 13 school psychologists, 8 speech and language pathologists, and then we have 85 classified employees that are either an instructional assistant with special education classification or a behavioral classification or a severely handicapped classification in addition to our speech assistants. And then apart from that, we have 19 school counselors and 3 licensed vocational nurses and our district nurse, Donna Armenti, who oversee our health services program for the students in our district. And then below, because special education is composed largely of acronyms, IEP, 504, IDEA, FAPE, and LRE, which is the least restrictive environment. And that is our obligation as a district to ensure inclusion and to ensure that students are placed in the least restrictive setting with their non-disabled peers to the greatest extent possible within the school day. So do you have any questions?
Thank you.
No,
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it. That was item K4. Thank you for all the presenters. K5, Insurance Committee. No? No? Who?
Sorry about the delay. On Insurance Committee, we have not met for many months, but there is a renewed interest. So Julie DeVore is working with us to bring some more data and to start. We don't have a meeting planned yet, but we're reconvening with our associations and negotiations, and we have some, like I said, renewed interest to start those again. So probably not this early summer, but very soon before we get back to school, and then we'll carry on those for monthly insurance committee meetings and getting updates. So that's where we're at with insurance.
Thank you, Dr. Ahmed. ROP Committee.
Mr. President, I don't have any comments for this meeting for IVROP.
Thank you, Mr. Calderon. LCAP Committee.
So just a quick update. Today we had the public hearing for the LCAP, the annual update, and the LCFF budget overview for parents. Sometime next week, we're meeting with the county for input and recommendations on our draft. And then on the 24th, we'll be bringing you a final draft, and I'll be sharing a few slides of some of the changes in the LCAP. Also on June 24th, I will be bringing to you the presentation on the local indicators, which is something that I have to present to the board, and that information is then uploaded to the California dashboard. So that'll be coming up on the June 24th meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ramirez.
Thank you.
K6, Accounts Payable Pre-List. Does anybody have any questions?
No questions.
No questions? K7, Board Reports. These are informational reports by board members, no actions taken. Mr. Romero?
Just want to take the time to congratulate the senior class of the Dora High School. They graduated last night. It was wonderful. And in advance, I'd like to congratulate the seniors that will be graduating on Thursday and Friday. And once again, thank all the staff in the district, classified and certified, for the job well done this year. It was a very trying year, and I think they were successful. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Romero. Ms. Magallanes?
I would like to thank, again, all the staff, the teachers, certified certificate. Also, I would like to congratulate our class 2021. I was able to attend my first Aurora graduation. I think it was beautiful. And also congratulate the high school as well, graduates. I also would like to congratulate the retirees that I think you guys did a magnificent job. Just a quote that I always remember from one of my teachers that I really, really have here close to my heart, that when I was a student, she always said when I was writing a summary, always remember, tell them what you're going to tell them, and tell them what you told them. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Magallanes. Mr. Alvarado?
I just want to thank and congratulate Karen Salai, which was recognized tonight for CIF Wrestling Champ, our boys soccer team, also our student athletes this year. And thank you to all the coaches this year, because it was a trying year, and they did, participate in all sports here in the Valley. I also want to congratulate all our graduates, Aurora, our Calexico High School, which is going to graduate tomorrow and Friday. And also just want to, it wasn't mentioned for our last board meeting, but, for Memorial Day, all those that served, we do have a lot of veterans that, here in the Valley that did die, some type of combat. I want to recognize them also as well. And other than that, just want to thank all our staff, classified, certificated. Thank you for everything that you do, because this year was a trying year, and hopefully next year, this coming up in August, we start, hit the ground running, and don't look back. There's a lot of good things going on, and I just want to thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Alvarado. Mr. Calderon?
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us tonight. First, I'd like to congratulate all the graduates from K-12, excuse me, and also I just have a message that if you were able to make it through this pandemic, you can make it through anything in life, and that is word right there. Also, I'd like to thank the parents, the grandmothers, the babysitters, whoever got these kids through. It was the first time they were learning distant learning. They were able to get them to do their homework and so forth, and learn, most important of all. Also, I like to thank our staff for making this possible, for getting computers out to our students, for teaching our teachers how to teach with computers and so forth. Also for feeding them. We had a lot of staff feeding our students, our community, and so forth. And our administrators also for being out there and supporting our staff. As you know, tonight you will see a lot of construction, many constructions that we still also have ahead of ourselves. One thing that I do want to take this time is that, and I've said it before in other board meetings, that we have to take care of our staff. And when I say we have to take care of our staff, we need to sit down and negotiate with our staff and get this behind us. We saw a budget today that it's very, well, unpredictable, but I'm sure that if we sit down, we can work something out with our staff. And again, just a reminder, thank you, staff, and you all know that you are the backbone of this district. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Calderon. And yes, ditto to what my colleagues said. Congratulations to all the graduates. Congratulations to all the students that promoted. This year is almost over. We made it. It was not easy, but we were able to pull through. And that shows the dedication and the actions of everybody in this district, from the day one employee to Mr. Gonzalez, the superintendent. Everybody in between played a great part in making sure that our students pulled through. No employee, whether you are the day one employee to Mr. Gonzalez, no employee has plays a lesser part in making sure that our students get the best education possible. So congratulations, everybody, because this is a team effort. And like I said, like the old saying says, it takes a village to raise a kid. And in this case, we are a big family. Sometimes we disagree on items. However, we pull those disagreements aside because the mission is to make sure that our kids pull through. Our mission is to make sure that our kids get educated and that they get educated in the best setting possible. And that's what we did this year. So thank you, everybody. And to all of our community members that are helping to make sure that this happens, thank you. Because you're here, it's now 10 at 9, and you're here to make sure that this happens. We couldn't make it without you either. So thank you. That was K7.
Can I make one more
Sure, go ahead, Mr. Calderon.
Sorry, I forgot to also mention these athletes. Incredible how, what their accomplishments were in spite of this pandemic. So again, especially Ms. Salais, great accomplishment in the history of Calexico. I think she brought the name to California. So again, and our soccer team, of course. Our soccer team also went to the CIF. I'd like to congratulate them, and that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Item L, discussion, L1, summer pool program 2021. Mr. Vega?
Are there any questions regarding this? I know that was a request.
Yeah, so this item was brought forward by Ms. Magallanes.
Yes, first and foremost, I would like to thank you for adding my request for discussion on the summer pool program. I would also like to thank the business department for working on a cost schedule to share with the public. Mr. Vega or Mr. Gonzalez, can you elaborate more information on this item?
You want to take you want to? So with the exception of the last summer, we were in the middle of a pandemic. We didn't have the summer school or the summer pool program. Now that we have obviously starting to reopen, obviously now the question is, can we have that? So, I know that I cannot speak for Dr. Thurman. I know that, the health department is the one that dictates what we can or cannot do. Nevertheless, for the purpose of the conversation, we put together a budget, like you stated, that puts in perspective what would be the cost of running that program again. In the past, this event or this task has been undertaken by 3 entities, which is the City of Calexico and which pretty much manage the whole operation, and the Heffernan Board, which over the last few years since I've been here has been the one that has funded the overall cost for to run this particular summer program. The last time, however, that we had this program, we know that the Heffernan did pay us half of the amount that pertained to running the pool program. We're still waiting for the other half, so I don't know, Fabiola, were you able to? So tomorrow we will be receiving the final payment for the summer program. Might have been the summer of 2019. But nevertheless, the cost, if there is a desire to approve this, it's almost $60,000. And the budget that was put together, it only encompasses the expenditures for the month of July and up until a week before we start the new school year in August. So that's pretty much what the budget component of it. But again, I know that in the past we worked with Ms. Sandra Toller. Right, which I guess I believe she has retired.
Yes.
So I don't know who will be the one. I mean, she was an amazing person with a lot of institutional knowledge on how to best run the program. So the city hasn't reached out to us. I know that I did get a call by a city council member, Gloria Romo, requesting this information on it. I told her before that I was going to bring it up to my boss and to you and see if there was a desire for that. But as far as the Heffernan Board donating money, or again, we haven't received. Nobody has called us basically, other than Ms. Romo requesting information on this.
And Mr. Vega, can you explain to the public as to why is it that we have to use funds from other agencies regarding the gift of public funds?
Yeah, well, basically like you stated, it's a gift of public funds to fund that particular program. So, and I checked with legal counsel just to be sure,
Yes.
100%. So legal counsel has concurred that it would be considered a gift of public funds. So we could not incur the expenditure to support that program ourselves. Again, it has been a donation that we have received in the past, but, I mean, for me, from my standpoint, all I need is direction on how you want me to proceed. If you want me to reach out to the city or try to find out more information, I provided the cost estimate so that you know what it would be, what it would cost to have the program again. So that's where we are.
Obviously, this program is very important to our community, to our children, because otherwise they'll be going into the canals to swim and so forth.
Absolutely, yes.
So, I mean, I'd like to tell the board that I'm willing to volunteer to go talk to someone in the Heffernan board. I think we've been successful in the past to try to see if they can fund it. I mean, we need more time in that pool. We're spending a lot of money to maintain that pool, and we might as well put it to use. So I'm volunteering. If you guys are okay, I can make some calls, and if it's, I don't know.
I concur with you, and if the board would agree to this, I would like to go with Mr. Calderon and set up a meeting with Heffernan Memorial, since they are the ones that have approached us in the past and donate the money or sponsor the program, better said, and see what is it that we can do this year. With the following the strict guidelines that the Imperial County, the health department has set for schools to do these kind of programs.
And if I may, I know, partly the discussion is to reach out to the Heffernan board and see if they can fund it. The other part of it that I think we also need to look into, and obviously we have not had this conversation with the city, but at some point the city would need to take back the pool to reopen it just like they did in the past. It is a joint usage, there is a joint usage agreement between the pool, between the district and the city. And so, before the city used to run the summer program, they would reach out to the community, they would do the contacting, they would do the advertisement, hire the lifeguards, and that I know has not been an option for them, as they have indicated in the past, due to finances. I don't know exactly where the city is now regarding their finances. I hear things as far as that they may be doing better financially. So in regards to a summer pool program, I think at some point we need to look at the city to see if they're going to really take on that component, which is a function of the city and not the district. Like Mr. Vega mentioned, Ms. Sandra Toller was amazing in regards to coordinating all the events, the scheduling, working with the lifeguards, and making sure that the summer program would be very successful. So we have been working as a team with the Heffernan board, the district, and the city. I'm just bringing that out to the board that I think the city also needs to have a discussion as well in regards to the pool, and if they're interested in having a summer pool program as well.
Well, why don't we do this? Why don't you and your team contact the city? Mr. Calderon and I will reach out to Heffernan, and if it seems like it's a plan, then we all three can meet and talk about this. But yes, you are right. The city and Calexico Unified, they have had a joint agreement in the past because where they have taken this job only for the summer. So let's do that and see if we can do this for our community for the summer. But again, it will have to, the funds the Calexico Unified cannot use those funds to fund a community-wise program. We can fund a student-based program, but not a community-at-large program, right, Mr. Vega?
That is correct.
Thank you. So, is that okay?
Thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
So, okay. So what I hear you say, the pool will be open for students only.
As far as
For summer school?
Yeah.
For summer school,
Yes.
for the coaches or PE teachers.
Any student, of Calexico, any program that has been planned, for summer school, I believe it's open right through.
And if I may, I think in my updates I mentioned that we're having our athletes already starting with their summer conditioning. So for example, if the coach for swimming wants to have the students start, absolutely, they're going to have full access to the pool. But those are our students that we're making sure that we accommodate.
Okay.
Didn't you have a schedule on this proposal? Wasn't there a schedule?
Was there a schedule?
I believe there was a schedule, and it's open for,
There was a proposal that I sent to the board. I don't know if that's the one that you're referring to.
Yes, it has a
And the
schedule.
proposal had a schedule, and if you want to speak to it, Mr.
well,
does
because
have a
I'm kind of
schedule,
confused
so-
here.
So for July, if you notice, the pool's only open in the evenings because we have to take into consideration that there's summer school going on, and the district will always give preference to the district students. And then come August, after summer school is over, then we'll open it up in the mornings for swimming lessons, and then in the evening for open swim. And also something to consider, usually this initial discussion begins around March.
Yes.
In order to properly prep and plan for a good summer school program, this discussion has always began around March. And so we're already mid-June. We have to hire, by we, I mean the district, we have to hire pool manager, pool cashiers, lifeguards. We have to order uniforms. I have to buy all the supplies that are going to be needed, such as sunscreen, the umbrellas, the shades. So time is of the essence. So if there's gonna be more discussion going on with the other two agencies, time is sensitive because it's right around the corner. Yeah.
Thank
Nothing, I mean, unrelated to this, what she just said, if we're gonna be having, I don't know if the public can hear, but I'm having problems hearing her. So I'd like to make a suggestion that if we're gonna continue to have board meetings here, that we do something about the volume or I mean, the speakers, because I really can't hear her. And, I mean, not against you, but there's been other speakers today that I'm trying to figure out what
No,
they're saying.
So what I was sharing is that usually the initial discussion begins around March in order to properly prep and organize for a good summer school program, because we need to hire pool manager, we need to hire pool cashiers, we need to hire lifeguards, we need to order uniforms, we need to buy the supplies that are going to be needed, such as sunscreen, lotions, and the umbrellas, the shades, all that good stuff. So just something to keep in mind if the district is going to be reaching out to Heffernan and the city of Calexico to discuss the possibility. Time is of the essence because July is right around the corner. We
Yes.
normally start the first week of July.
And you're right, time is of essence in this case, yeah. Okay,
Thank you.
I'll get on it tomorrow.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item M, discussion possible action. M1, approval of Measure Q facility schematic design. I have Mr. Michael Castillo, but I guess you already spoke about this. Thank you. So M1, approval of Measure Q facilities schematics design.
I'm going to approve the design.
Say what?
I move to approve the design.
Okay. There's a motion to approve. There's a second by Mr. Alvarado. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Then we're gonna have a presentation? We gotta see the presentation.
Have you seen the schematic? It looks beautiful.
We saw it.
No.
Yes, we did. No? Yes.
No,
No, yes. Well, maybe you were not here.
When?
But no, they already presented. But we didn't approve it, but they did a presentation, right? Did they do a presentation?
No? They haven't, they haven't seen it.
At the last special board meeting, we presented a deferred maintenance plan and the facilities master plan. But this item, I believe, was tabled. But I'm okay. I mean, if the board doesn't want to see the presentation.
No. So
I mean-
there's a motion on the floor and a second. Would you guys like to take back your motions?
No, I've seen the design. It looks beautiful. And we talked about it at the committee, and Kiki's seen it, and you have it in front of you.
I'm okay with as far as it goes, but there is like this discussion about the community. The community's seen it already or not yet?
No. Well, what about that? There's a motion and a second on the floor. Let's,
We presented this to the Board Advisory Committee of School Construction about 3-4 weeks ago, and then we presented again this Monday.
There's a motion, a second on the floor. Let's have the presentation, and then after we see the presentation, we can vote on this. Well, there's a motion on the floor already, but we can still see the presentation.
All right, we will present. All right, Jimmy, come on over. All right. Jimmy Sanders, our architect, has done a phenomenal job designing. Again, I know that a lot of our public have already spoken on this item, and you know, I love what Jimmy has done. He's really stepping it up and really creating something magnificent for the high school. So, Jimmy, without further ado, please take it away.
Mr. Sanders, before you go on, can I make a motion to exceed the meeting till 11:30? You extend the meeting to 11:30?
There's a motion on the floor to extend the meeting until 11:30. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Calderon Jr. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you for the opportunity to present the proposed design schematics tonight. Here with me tonight is Mr. Jesus Aguilera. He's part of our design team. We also want to thank all of the district representatives that participated in the design process. It was their input was invaluable. So thank you to all those who have participated. We have had several design meetings to get to the point to where we're at today. We listed out all those different meetings that we had in order to produce these design schematics. So our first slide here shows the proposed new buildings, the new construction. So we have our student services building, our 2 STEAM lab buildings, the new NPR and ASB building, the new field house / dog house, and then the modernization to the existing gymnasium locker rooms. Part of this project also includes a seismic mitigation project. So if you remember, when we modernized the CTE building, the district received about $1 million, or just over $1 million from the state, and it's projected that you'll be receiving that in August for that project. And so we're going to run through that same program for the 3 classroom buildings that we're going to tear down, plus the existing admin and the existing multi-purpose building. So this next slide is just a quick summary of that seismic mitigation approval process, and we're working through that now. So in lieu of modernizing, we are going to be taking the funds that we would be eligible to upgrade those seismic buildings and using that to replace instead of to modernize. So this next slide shows the proposed front elevation of the administration building, the view from the new Circle Drive parking lot. This slide shows the proposed Student Services Administration building first floor plan. So this building is proposed to be 2 stories. So this is our main entrance into the campus. There's a new Welcome Center security booth as you come in. This would allow you to present your credentials and then be granted permission to enter in through one of the gates. That would be controlled by your card access system. So your card access system would be extended into this building. We are maintaining the existing main entrance there. So that same sidewalk that comes up and leads into the admin building, that would lead into this breezeway separating the south half of the building and the north half of the building. So over on the south half is where we have our public entrance, our student entrance for discipline and attendance. Then we also have all of our vice principal offices and our principal office. Over on the north side of the building, we have the nurses station, the teacher mail room, the accounts receivable, and accounts payable.
Mr. Sten?
Yes, sir.
I have a question. Those including, are these doors, 3 doors right here in the runway here?
These three,
Right there, in the entrance, right there, are those doors?
yes, that's the door. Mhm.
My question is, why would the security be behind it instead of in front of the doors? Because if we have an active shooter, we would have 3 doors to go into the building. I mean, I'm asking, man. I mean, just-
You can't get into the school without being lit.
I know, but there's 3 doors that make these.
Yeah, correct, but the entrance is up on top.
So this, yeah, so,
Okay, we're looking at that east or west?
yeah.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, good question. So yeah, that's,
I was looking at it the other way.
right, right. So these gates here are closest to Circle Drive. Okay? And then we'd point out that in the event that there is an active shooter, the new card access system, you can, with an app on your phone, from a PC on your desk, you can shut down the entire school, all the gates, all the doors, so all 3 of those doors would lock, and as would any other exterior doors. Okay. Okay, this next slide shows the second floor of the same building. This is where the first floor would come through underneath that breezeway. So we have a very large conference room that, in addition to welcoming you to the second floor here, is also overlooking that breezeway. It's very, very nice design feature that will be used by the high school and the community. As you come up the stairs, you will see the registrar's office. On the south side of the building is where the counselors, psychology, and speech therapy offices are located. On the north side of the building over here is our staff restrooms and staff lounge. So we have a staff lounge area here with a folding partition wall and a conference room. So this can be opened up into a very large conference room, or it can be used on a daily basis as a staff lounge and a smaller conference room. Okay, this next slide shows the proposed method of construction. So this building is proposed to be constructed of a steel moment frame, concrete slab on grade and concrete footings, PVC membrane roof, and energy efficient mechanical systems. So what we wanted to communicate here is that all of the current standards that you have implemented with your construction project will be extended into these new facilities. This next slide shows the exterior elevation of the proposed multi-purpose cafeteria building. And this slide shows an interior elevation of the cafeteria building. So this area here is the proposed mezzanine, which is the second floor that's going to overlook out onto the assembly area. And this is another elevation of the same or a similar view. We note here's the stairway to the mezzanine area, and this is student benches. So they'll be able to congregate in those benches to eat lunch or to view a presentation, to collaborate, enjoy the day, or enjoy the lunch period. So this is, again, the mezzanine that is overlooking the larger assembly area down below. And again, that's a close-up of those benches. So here's a slide depicting the floor plan, the first floor of that multi-purpose cafeteria building. So starting at the south, we have our food service area, our food service line, and our snack bar. This is the large assembly area, and this dotted line represents the mezzanine that would overlook that assembly area. One of the nice features of this building is that there's an indoor-outdoor stage. So we have large glass panels that raise up here so that this space can all become an indoor-outdoor space. And this stage can be used for exterior presentations or for interior presentations. Of course, there's student restrooms and data and storage rooms. And then down here in the southwest corner of the building is where we have proposed to locate the ASB classroom, the ASB store, and the ASB storage area. This next slide shows the floor plan of the mezzanine area. So all this area here in the gray is the second floor that again overlooks this larger assembly area floor. And this slide shows again the type of construction. This is a good section of that mezzanine and how it overlooks the larger assembly area. And then here's our raised stage and those glass panels that raise up to create that indoor-outdoor space. This next slide is the exterior elevation of the STEAM labs. So we have two STEAM buildings. This first STEAM building is the robotics/MESA building. So on the first floor, we have a robotics lab and a MESA lab with supporting classrooms to each laboratory. So here's the robotics, there's the MESA lab, and then we have a classroom with a folding partition wall so that this can be opened up into one large space or can be divided into two teaching spaces. And that's the same with the MESA lab and the robotics lab. The MESA lab needs an exterior or outdoor space to perform some of their functions. And so we have a roll-up door and a man door to go out into that covered area. One of the nice features about this first floor is that, well, this is our main corridor that connects all the classrooms, but we have large glass panel doors here that can be opened up so that the robotics lab and the MESA lab can all become one big, large collaborative space. On the first floor, we have our student restrooms. And then moving to the second floor, we have our staff restrooms, our staff lounge area and restrooms to support this building. And then we have 4 biology labs with supporting prep space in between each one of the labs. Okay, our next STEAM building is the science building. And on the first floor of the science building, we're proposing to construct 4 chemistry labs with supporting space in between each one of the labs. On the first floor, we have our student restrooms. And then on the second floor, very similar to the first floor, we have 4 additional chemistry laboratories and the very similar staff restroom and lounge area. Now, it's important to note that we spent a lot of time in these meetings to not only accommodate the current programs of Calexico High School, but also to accommodate CH9 coming over to the high school. So the layout that you've seen for both the robotics and MESA STEAM building and the chemistry STEAM building support both the current programs and CH9 coming over to the campus. Okay, this next slide is our field house or our dog house, and this building, as we showed you on the site plan, is located on the west side of the current pool, shower, and locker room. So this is a true multi-purpose field house. So we show, for presentation purposes, we show 2 wrestling mats, 2 full-size wrestling mats, and a yoga studio. But we want to point out that this building was designed to be a true multi-purpose field house. So any or a multitude of sporting activities can take place in this facility. We have some spectator seating in this area. We have a yoga storage area, student restrooms, and then we have storage on this end for both the sports programs and the PE programs. Now, one of the difficulties of locating the wrestling mats in a facility like this is to be able to take those mats up and down and to store those mats. So we did a lot of homework, and we're proposing that these mats be stored in the overhead position at the bottom of the trusses. So the building will be equipped with a hoist so that these mats can be hoisted up in one continuous mat and stowed away, so that this again can be used as a true multi-purpose area and not have to deal with the mats being out in the room. This dotted line here represents a screen wall that's going to have the ability to roll down so that you can divide this room into two separate areas or open it up into one large area. So this depicts those mats stored overhead there, so just so you can see what we're proposing there. This section shows the existing pool house and shade, and then there's our new field house. Hey, so the last few slides show the proposed locker room modernizations, and again, I want to reiterate that these locker room modernizations support the current high school program and CH9 coming over to the campus. So we're proposing to modernize the Godfrey Gym locker areas and convert those into boys' sports lockers and girls' sports lockers. So there'd be a total of 120 boys' sports lockers and 120 girls' sports lockers. Now we need a total of 180, so I'll show you here in a few slides where we're going to pick up the other 60. This slide shows the floor plan of those locker rooms. So it depicts the locker room area. We have a coach area with a coach's restroom, and then we also have a student shower and restroom area. This next slide shows the proposed locker room renovation for Varner Gym, and this is where we pick up the additional 60 lockers for sports lockers. So these in the bulldog color there are our sports lockers, and then these are all of our PE lockers. So we have a total of 900 boys PE lockers and 900 girls PE lockers. And then we also renovate the PE staff coaches areas. We have a girls restroom, and then we also have a small restroom / shower for the students if they needed a shower facility. Okay, and this last slide shows our proposed water cooler and shade structure that would be located out on the east side of the gymnasium, and that includes a shaded area with benches and chilled water for the athletes.
Regarding the due diligence, Mr. Dominguez already presented you an update in the Measure Q some time ago, so that should be taken care of.
Okay, any questions for our proposed Measure Q design schematics?
Just one question, the doghouse, why weren't showers considered?
Well, so, yeah, there was a lot of conversation when we were designing the locker room areas on whether or not or how much the students use those showers, and so it was determined that we would use that square footage space to enlarge the multi-purpose area or the assembly area, and we would leave those lockers or the showers over where their lockers were. So if you were going to use the doghouse or the field house for a sporting activity, you would still need to go back over and change out in your sports locker or your PE locker. And so that's where we determined that it would be best location for the showers.
Thank you, Mr. Sanders, for that presentation. There's still a motion on the floor in a second. If no more questions or concerns, go ahead, Mr.
I have one more question.
Go ahead.
Is this like a running document, or, because I kind of missed it when I couldn't hear him, or hear, when do we consider, or when are the teachers going to have their input, the teachers and the students?
So the design process for the interior of the space, for example, the layout, if you noticed the layout of the chemistry labs, it was an open floor plan. So the next meetings that we have now is now when we engage the end users or the boots on the ground, and that's when we determine, for example, do we have islands or peninsulas? Where's the eyewash shower? And so that would be the next series of meetings. And yeah, and we that's a very good question. We discussed that at both the Measure Q and the basics on that's going to be in the next phase of meetings.
Yes, and I want to second what Mr. Calderon is saying, because we want to make sure that those classrooms are the layout. It's agreeable with all the stakeholders. Thank you. So again, there's a motion on the floor in a second. If no more questions or comments, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Motion passes 5-0. M2, approval of Dixon Smart Schoolhouse 5-year deferred maintenance plan.
So moved.
There's a motion by Mr. Romero. Is there a second?
I have a second with some questions.
So Mr. Calderon seconds the motion with a comment and questions.
When Mr. Joe Dixon made this proposal.
Mike.
I said Mike? Oh, I'm sorry. When Mr. Dixon made the proposal, was he using like current information on this? Like, for example, number of brand-new ACs and that type of thing?
Right, he physically came to the district for a few days, and I know that our M&O supervisor, Cruz de la Rosa, was instrumental in, taking him to the site and helping him with the assessments, but he did, had, up until the point, remember, the pandemic happened, so there's a year in between him finishing up his report and actually presenting it. But up until the point where he completed the report, he had the best and most updated information.
Yeah, and the only reason is that during the pandemic, there was a lot of construction.
Right.
By the district, so just to make sure that it was.
Right, so anything that happened between him, the last time or the last day that he finished his study, anything that happened in between, I'm pretty sure that that has to be updated.
Okay. All right, then that's all I have, thank you.
So there's a motion on the floor in a second.
I seconded it already.
Yeah. So all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Motion passes 5-0. M3, approval of lease-back construction delivery method option.
So moved.
There's a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
I have a second with another question.
Go ahead, second. Mr. Calderon seconds with the
Yes.
question and comments.
Mr. Vega, I went through it, I still don't understand how this works, but I do have a question. This presentation only has advantages and not disadvantages, so is there any disadvantages to go this route?
So I do have some Santana, ready. I need to text him. I forgot to text him. But I have used this delivery method in the past. So the disadvantages, I really can't think of any disadvantages. I mean, we can ask Sam. The advantage, one of the biggest advantages, as we share during our meeting, is that it's more transparent, and it does greatly eliminate the possibility of contractor change orders. Any change orders normally under a lease-back is normally owner-driven. In the middle of the project, the district, want to make a change. That's a owner-driven change order. But I, from experience, I can tell you that for a project of the magnitude that we are planning to do, lease-back works best in those type of projects. large projects. Design bid build, which is what we have done under Measure V. You know, had I been here back in 2017 when that was being actually, being procured, I would recommend that we did that as well. But I mean, there is nothing wrong with the design bid build. It's just that under that type of delivery method, the risk is that there are bidders that will underbid just to get the job, and then the possibility of change orders after is always there. Under a lease back, because you involve you select a contractor right from the onset, that kind of eliminates that part of, the contractor knows right from the get-go, this is what you gotta do under the budget that you have, and that's it. And you just have to deliver it. That's, I don't know, John, do you wanna expand on that? Are there any pros and cons? I mean, I talked about the pros, but what about cons of a lease back?
I just want to point out a couple of things. For a project like this, and understanding that leaseback, we established a GMP, a guaranteed maximum price, and it's qualification based. For the construction of the project, it creates a better deliverable for the contractor, because for modernization projects, as you know, on an old facility like this facility, if there's going to be modernization and new construction, it's really difficult to not have change orders in a modernization project, because you really don't know how until we really get into this project, how some of the buildings are going to be constructed, because sometimes the as-builts aren't accurate. So, okay, so for this project, it is a viable delivery method. The cons is one of the things that happens in leaseback is that it requires a workforce of apprentice level. I think this year it's 85% apprentice level workers, and so therefore the pool of workers, if the local trades don't have that base, then they have to go outside of that radius, and so we would probably have to get. But we'd get workers that come in from, as far as San Diego, because there's a bigger workforce there. And then it takes away from the smaller companies, because they don't have the capacity to bond on larger projects. So therefore, we would get larger companies to come in and bid and put in an RFQ, request for a proposal for these types of projects. So that's kind of the downside, but for the leaseback projects that we've worked on, they've all been very successful. The only change orders that you really get are those change orders that are district driven. It really works for us well, because we are able to value engineer the project, because we have a pre-construction services agreement with the contractor to help to work with the architect and work on those value engineering aspects of the project early on. So yeah, it's for all the preferred methods, many LEAs choose leaseback.
Cost-wise, the same?
I'm sorry.
Cost-wise?
Cost-wise, it's relatively the same. It's, it truly is. But the only difference, and Cesar hit it right on, is sometimes what you'll get is you'll get a contractor that says that they can, deliver the project on a design bid build project, and they'll undercut the other contractors just to get the job, and then they'll hit the district with change orders. That's what we want to try to prevent.
With Desno, they cannot do that.
That's correct.
Time-wise?
Time-wise, the same. I mean, we're all going to, we're all under the same type of contractual obligation, but yeah, it could speed it up a little bit, because the pre-construction services agreement really does help us in a lot of ways to deliver the project to its full capacity. Yeah.
Sure. Anybody else? So there's a motion on the floor and a second. If no more questions or comments, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Motion passes 5-0. Item M4, agreement and memorandum of understanding between Calexico Unified School District and Imperial County Office of Education for the transfer of state eligibility funding to the district in exchange of ownership of 4 Calexico High School classrooms.
I move to approve.
Gonzalez?
Yeah, so thank you, Mr. Calderon. I had spoken with Board President Calderon earlier today in regards to this particular item. So did have a conversation with ICOE, and in regards to this particular MOU, at this point, we're withdrawing this particular item from the agenda. In discussing with ICOE, in regards to the eligibility, they had looked into it, and we will not lose the eligibility at this point. So one of the recommendations is that we look at, future buildings that we're going to be working on, or either it's going to be just one building, but that way there's no confusion or misunderstanding in regards to these 12 particular classrooms, because in regards to the 12 classrooms, that is not an ICOE project, and so
4 classrooms.
4 classrooms, right? And so what we are looking to doing is continuing to work with ICOE, and then either work on a building which is only for those classrooms, or as we build new classrooms at Calexico High School, then be able to include 4 classrooms in whatever it is that we're building in the future. Because as you recall, even with these 4 classrooms, with a 12 classroom building, nothing would be able to be really retrofitted. Nothing's been built around that. So because of that, it's best to withdraw it and then continue working with ICOE on this one. But we don't lose the funds.
We don't, okay. I know Mr. Mike Castillo wanted to speak on the item.
So again, thank you for that. Again, new information regarding withdrawing, which is fine. So again, Mike Castillo, I'm speaking here as a parent now. And I understand circumstances may have changed a bit. So I'm going to keep it kind of general and more to the topic than the facility, but again, addressing this population of students. So again, I'm here speaking as a parent of a child who attends schools here in Calexico in these facilities, but also a child who attends the severely handicapped programs, which this topic is addressing. So a couple of quick points I just want to mention, just keeping it general. And again, not getting into specifics because I understand that things are changing. But again, just to keep in mind, and I want to commend the board to the discussion you guys had previously. There were comments that were made and shared about ensuring that these students, who are often sometimes the maybe forgotten students, or not only say disadvantaged, but ensuring that they receive the adequate, or going above and beyond sometimes with the facilities and the services they receive. Those are some of the comments I remember I heard mentioned at the last meeting. I had a chance to watch it online. So the conversation is very positive, hearing that as a parent and kind of the direction and the thoughts of the board. I know there are other parents who are also in the severely handicapped program, who are also kind of watching what's happening, always looking for the best interest of their children, as you are as well. Thinking about some of the things mentioned this afternoon or this evening, keeping in mind Calexico, we saw that you've got about over 1,000 students, special ed students in your program, in your classrooms here, both students with IEPs, 504s, or the severely handicapped program. Over 1,000, your population approximately, I'm going to say 8,500, what I saw today. So over 10% of your children, again, students that you serve, that you are providing services for, are children with special needs. Again, oftentimes we may not always kind of think about that. Sometimes we do, which is wonderful. But just keep that in mind as you're thinking about, again, providing, as we heard, least restrictive environments, full access to programs, activities, facilities, providing free and appropriate education, which the district does very well. Again, let's not forget about this population. Again, without getting too specific on the topic, I just want to commend, the staff the board for the discussion you guys had. Staff, special ed program, Mr. Price does a wonderful job. You know, we've dealt with him as a parent or client. The staff in your office, Mr. Price, has been wonderful. I want to mention as well, transportation, the services that they offer. We don't think about that, but they have providing services for our population, our severely handicapped special ed population, which we may not always think about, but very valuable to parents. So again, just want to mention, again, the district does a wonderful job. The staff at the school sites, our child has attended about every school except 2 in her span here. But staff have done a wonderful job, administrators, classified, psychs, to include. Inclusion is a key word here. Whether it be that friendship bench at some of the sites, lunch on the lawn, special prom, circle of friends. Those activities are very meaningful for the families, for the children, and we may not always realize that. I can think of a time when my daughter was walking down the hallway when she attended school here. You know, very stubborn. She went to school with a pink tutu, mismatched socks, but that was her. But the reception she had from friends, you know, that would walk up and say, greet her, walk her to class, those are valuable moments for, as a parent, that we cherish. Because we know they're not gonna, chances are they may not play, you know, in some of the athletic teams in the football field, in the weight room, you know, we may not be taking full advantage of that, but the inclusion is very important. So your discussion was positive. I just wanted to share that and look forward to see where this leads. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Castillo. And
Thank
yes, the discussion that Mr. Gonzalez and I had this afternoon regarding this this item, and I think we were on the same page regarding how we wanted this new facility for our students. And I think we came to the conclusion that we need to talk to ICOE because they are the experts as far as all the issues that will have to come into play when building a state-of-the-art facility for some of our special ed students. So, and I mentioned that we need to, well, my vision is a state-of-the-art facility, but we still need to make sure that it will comply with their needs and what is it that they need, they want, and what is it that they don't need or they may not want in those facilities. So at this point, we're going to table the, is there a motion to table this item?
There's a motion to approve.
There's a motion to approve?
I made the motion to approve, yeah. I see it as a
Oh.
win-win situation. They're gonna give us 2.7 million, and then they already have I believe 2 rooms in the high school and 1 in the junior high, Diasa, if I heard correctly on Monday.
I'm sorry, what was the question again?
I think we mentioned on Monday that they already have at the high school 2 special ed rooms and 1 in the
And
Diasa,
one at the
right?
9th grade campus. So,
Yeah, so on this one, Mr. Romero, in my conversation with ICOE, that there is no agreement, there's no MOU that's attached here. And so, for that reason, the recommendation was to withdraw at this point. And then what I had explained to Board President Ciro Calderon was in regards to the eligibility. We don't lose it. And what we're going to do is look at a different facility, not anything tied to these 12 classrooms. As ICOE, it's not an ICOE project, but there's been a lot of confusion, a lot of misunderstanding. So what we'll be looking for is looking at a state-of-the-art facility, another building that is being built at Calexico High School to make sure that it has all of the facility needs that our students will need.
And how will that be paid?
Part of it will be through the eligibility. We don't lose it. We still have that 2.7 eligibility.
Would that belong to ICOE, correct?
yes, the
that was my
eligibility
initial
does belong to ICOE. So we, if I may, Mr. Gonzalez, so we couldn't resolve some of the issues that we were tackling as far as the agreement. There were things that I found out the last minute that I didn't agree with. For instance, there was a, it's something that we continue to investigate with legal. We would have, if this was going to be approved, and even though they wouldn't be using the classrooms right away, we will have to pay them now a $4,000 a month lease, no, not a month, I'm sorry, a year for every classroom that we use. And that to me was something that like I said, I found that out yesterday when I had a conversation with the county, and I just needed more time with legal to look into that.
Okay, since this has changed in Monday, I withdraw my motion then.
So you withdraw your motion?
Thank you.
Thank you. So, are we tabling, or because we could just disapprove this motion, or we can just table indefinitely?
We're recommending to withdraw.
Well, yes, he withdrew his motion, but now we need to do something with this. So do we want to table this item?
I don't think you want to table it until you get the exact facts as to what's going on.
Yeah, and that's why we're recommending to withdraw it completely.
Yes.
Okay.
Pulling
Okay.
it.
All right, so because this is under discussion and possible option, we will not be taking any action on M4 at this point. And action items, consideration and action approval of the following items. Agreement N1, agreement between Calexico Unified School District and Savas for English Development Curriculum for My Companion 9th through 11th grade.
So moved.
Motion by Mr.
Second.
Alvarado, second by Mr. Romero. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye, motion passes 5-0. And 2, agreement between Calexico Unified School Districts and Navigate 360 Intervention for Behavior Interventions for K-12 students.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Romero, second by Mr. Alvarado. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes 5-0. And 3, agreement between Calexico Unified School District and the University of California for Transcript Evaluation Services, UCTES.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Alvarado, second by Ms. Magallanes. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes 5-0. And 4, agreement between Calexico Unified School District and Northern Arizona University for Student and Interest Rate Cooperative Agreement for Social Work from June 10, 2021 through December 31st, 2025.
So moved.
Second.
Who made the motion?
I'll make the motion.
Okay, Mr. Alvarado make the motion, second by Mr. Calderon Jr. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Motion passes 5-0. And 5, agreement between Calexico Unified School District and Asila's Learning System for the International Academy of Science, Asila's Web Learning Process Service for Calexico High School and Aurora High School for the summer school 2021. Motion
So
by
moved.
Mr. Calderon Jr., second by
Second.
Mr. Romero. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye, motion passes 5-0. And 6, agreement between Calexico Unified School District and Orenda Education from June 2021 to September 2021 for an equity study.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Calderon Jr., second by Mr. Alvarado. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes 5-0. And 7, agreement between Calexico Unified School District and the Rainforest Art Project for curriculum and art supplies for the 2021 K-7 summer school program.
So moved.
So moved.
Okay.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Calderon Jr., second by
Second.
by Ms. Magallanes. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye, motion passes 5-0. And 8, agreement between Calexico Unified School District and BKMA Office Works for the purchase and installation of furniture for technology department.
I have a question on this. Is it for what department, what technology departments are we talking about?
This is
Mr.
for IT technology for the modular buildings, the new ones that are being put by the district office, the modulars. There's a Doubleton that is the new technology center. So the furniture is for that particular Doubleton trailer, the new ones that were, well, the used ones that were moved from Calexico High School to the district office.
So moved.
Okay, all right.
I'll second.
Motion by Mr. Romero, second by Mr. Alvarado. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes 5-0. And 9, food service agreement between Calexico Unified School District and ICOE Calexico Academy to receive free meals for the 2021-2022 fiscal year.
Second.
That is correct, and this is particularly getting ready for the next school year.
Motion by Mr. Calderon Jr., second by Mr. Alvarado. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes 5-0. And 10, food service agreement between Calexico Unified School District and ICOE Alt Ed and SPED to receive free meals for 2021-2022 fiscal year.
So, second.
Motion by Mr. Calderon Jr., second by Mr. Alvarado. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes 5-0. And 11, agreement between Calexico Unified School District and San Diego County Superintendent of Schools to participate in the Comprehensive Literacy State Development Grant September 1, 2021 through September 30, 2024.
So moves.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Romero, second by Mr. Calderon Jr. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Motion passes 5-0. And 12, small projects agreement between Calexico Unified School District and Al Valley Fence and Supply Incorporated for the fencing project at William Moreno Junior High School.
I motion to approve with a question. What are these projects for?
So this one has to do with the perimeter fence at Willie Moreno Junior High School. So giving an example, if you can think of the north part of Willie Moreno, there's the houses that run between the school. So what we're doing is putting a new fence and also putting the privacy. So that way there's a barrier. Then if you think of Willie Moreno and think of the east side where there's a dirt lot and there's a lot of shrubs, so there's going to be fence line put there as well with privacy as well. Then there's going to be fence line put all along the south part of Willie Moreno as well. But there's going to be no privacy there, so that way we can be able to monitor and see the students. So that's the perimeter fence that's going to be replaced. And the reason it's being replaced is because it's in need of replacement.
Okay.
Second.
So Mr. Calderon made the motion,
Yeah.
and second by Mr. Alvarado, right?
Yes.
All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye, motion passes 5-0. That was in 12. And 13, memo of understanding between Calexico Unified School District and ICOE for professional development services and ELA strategies for AST teacher at Willie Moreno Junior High School.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Alvarado, second by Mr. Calderon Jr. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes 5-0. M14, agreement and proposal between Calexico Unified School District and Landmark Geoengineers and Geologists for geotechnical services for the proposed installation of steel light and borderline project poles for the sport field at Mains, Rockwood, and Cesar Chavez Elementary Schools.
So moved. Second.
So motion by Mr. Calderon Jr., second by Mr. Alvarado.
And then with a question.
Okay, go
This
ahead.
is the same thing that we installed in Kennedy Gardens and what was the other school? Maine?
Correct.
Yeah.
Willie Moreno
Or
and
Willie-
Kennedy Gardens. And this is specifically for the soil samples in order to be able to put up the border
Okay.
link poles.
So there's a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes 5-0. And 15, proposal between Calexico Unified School District and Coin Motorsports for the purchase of 2 new Kawasaki mules for the Maintenance and Operations Department.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Magallanes, second by Mr. Calderon Jr. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Mr. Calderon, if I may, for the next item, which is N16, we're going to pull that one, and then let me explain to the trustees why. N5 and N16 are pretty much the same thing for Acellus. What happened was we had split up the license and the professional development. However, N5, which you already approved, includes both the license and the professional development. So therefore, we don't need to approve N16. It's already been approved for the services, so we just need to pull it.
N16?
N16, the next one, Thank you. So N16 is being pulled for the obvious reasons that Mr. Gonzalez just explained. N17, a textbook adoption for our high school courses, Spanish 1, 2, and 4.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr.
Alvarado.
And second by
It was me, but Magallanes.
by Ms. Magallanes. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes 5-0. N18, textbook adoption for our high school courses, AP Spanish language.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Romero, second by Mr. Alvarado. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes 5-0. Okay, here we go. N19, revised single plans for student achievement, SPSAs, for the 2021-2022 for the following schools: Aurora High School, Blanchhouse Elementary School, Calexico High School, Cesar Chavez Elementary School, Dula Elementary School, Enrique Camarena Junior High School, Jefferson Elementary School, Kennedy Gardens Elementary School, Mains Elementary School, Rockwood Elementary School, and William Moreno Junior High School.
So moved.
Motion by Mr.
Second.
Romero, Mr. Alvarado,
Second.
second by Mr. Calderon Junior. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Motion passes 5-0. N20, resolution. Resolution for the Education Protection Account to establish spending determinations for the 2021-2022 school year.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Alvarado, second by Mr. Romero. Roll call, Mr. Romero,
Yes.
Ms. Magallanes,
Yes.
Mr. Alvarado,
Yes.
Mr. Calderon Junior,
Yes.
and myself, Mr. Calderon, yes. Motion passes, our resolution passes 5-0. N21, resolution for budget and cash transfers, fiscal year 2021-2022.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Romero,
Second.
second by Mr. Alvarado. Roll call, Mr. Romero,
Yes.
Ms. Magallanes,
Yes.
Mr. Alvarado,
Yes.
Mr. Calderon Junior,
Yes.
and myself, Mr. Calderon, yes. Resolution passes 5-0. N22, resolution to sign orders for 2021-2022 school year.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Romero,
Second.
second by Mr. Alvarado. Roll call, Mr. Romero,
Yes.
Mr. Magallanes,
Yes.
Mr. Alvarado,
Yes.
Mr. Calderon Junior,
Yes.
and myself, Mr. Calderon, yes. Resolution passes 5-0. That was N22. N23, resolution appointing members of the board advisory, resolution appointing members to the board advisory committee on school construction.
I have, I want to go ahead and approve this, but I have a suggestion.
Okay, go
I
ahead.
didn't see any law enforcement or any firefighters on this, in this group, and I think it's important. This is for our future construction, correct?
Yeah. Well, any school
Um,
construction that has to do
yeah.
with Calexico
And,
Unified, yes.
I like those set of eyes, the boots on the ground. Normally, they see things that we don't see. And I would highly recommend someone from that area to sit in this committee. I'm okay with the rest, but I just like to see
When you say law enforcement, like any division?
any
or-
chief of police or fire chief, or a firefighter, they see things that normally normal citizens don't see. And I think it would be a good asset to your,
We can always invite, I mean, I can reach
Invite.
out, Chief Chalo, and, see if he's interested, or somebody else, fire department.
I
or
mean,
somebody
at
else.
least ask. I mean, that's my recommendation. I don't know how the rest feel, but I think
Yeah, absolutely, I can
it's
reach out.
critical. They're the ones that respond when we have an emergency. And
Okay, I'll reach out.
So there's a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Alvarado. Roll call, Mr. Romero,
Yes.
Ms. Magallanes,
Yes.
Mr. Alvarado,
Yes.
Mr. Calderon Junior,
yes,
and myself, Mr. Calderon, yes. Motion, resolution passes 5-0. N24, certificated employment report. Is there a motion to approve?
If I may,
Sure, go ahead.
Board President Calderon, I'd like to make the recommendation that the board approve the certificated employment report as submitted, with the one change on page 9 under professional development. The start and end date time is going to change. It's actually from July 1st, 21 to November 30th, 2021, instead of June 14th, 2021 through June 30th, 2021.
So moved.
There's a motion by Mr. Alvarado,
Second.
second by Mr. Romero, for the certificate employment report as stated by Mr. Gonzalez. If no more questions, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 I abstain.
Motion passes 4-0. Mr. Romero, Ms. Magallanes, Mr. Alvarado, and myself voting yes. Abstention by Mr. Calderon Jr. N25, classified employment report. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Alvarado, second by Mr. Calderon Jr. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye, motion passes 5-0. Item O, reconvene to early closed session. We're not going to reconvene to early closed session. Item P, reconvene to open session. We're back. Item Q, announcement of actions taken in closed session. There were no actions taken in closed session. Item R, adjournment. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I motion to.
Motion by Mr. Calderon Jr., second by Mr. Alvarado. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes 5-0. Good night. It is now 11:14. Thank you.
Thank you.